What's up YouTube, Capital G here, trying out a new series on my channel that I think I'm going to call Hope for Rogue Players, and this is going to be a segment where I showcase some extremely out there and rogue decks that do well at regionals and the YCS circuits, and kind of show that there is definitely a lot of creativity and innovation still left in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And this is really for rogue players who don't like playing the meta, don't like following the meta trends, don't want to have to deal with a bunch of mirror matches, and just like to think outside the box. You know what I mean? A lot of these decks are going to be decks that get players their invites to nationals and just do a lot better than what you might imagine when you think, oh man, everything is just Metaphors, Paleozoics, or soon to be, different dimension demons and Zodiac beasts. So this is DZeeff Sky Scourge Fluffal Burning Abyss deck. And when I heard all of those archetypes jammed into the title, I was like, what the Kappa is DZeeff on? Because I just do not understand what the hell is going on here. Now, before I even found his video on his channel, which I highly suggest that you guys check out. I mean, a lot of people should have seen this video by now. DZeeff has like 7,000 subscribers. I actually got an email from TCG Player because I'm on the email list, and it was to an article that DZeeff actually wrote, and I read it and I was like, oh my god, this deck actually makes a lot of sense. And I looked through it and I was like, holy crap. Now, the thing about it is, over the last 6 months, it hasn't been completely unheard of for people to splash in what I guess you could call like the Fluffal engine, which is basically 3 wings, 3 bears, and 3 copies of Toy Vendor. Obviously, these cards all have natural synergy with each other. Wings can blow up Toy Vendor to let you draw cards and search another copy of like Bear. Bear gets Toy Vendor straight to the field, and they're all just good cards that kind of work with other cards in his deck like Monster Reincarnation, etc, etc. Now you guys see the Sky Scourge Norellis. If you're not familiar with the card, basically it was designed to be a watered down version of Chaos Emperor Dragon, because I'm pretty much guessing at the time that Konami created the card, they couldn't have seen themselves ever unbanning Chaos Emperor Dragon, so they were just like, we're gonna make a weaker version that kind of ended up being ass. Like, they went too far to the left and they kind of made it unsummonable because it required 4 monsters to be banished. But this is actually one of the only decks that I've ever seen that runs Norellis that can actually summon it inherently. I think this card is from the GX era. I want to just say off the top of my head, probably Force of the Breaker. I'm just guessing at this point. But the thing is, you have to have 3 Dark Fiends and 1 Light Fairy. Now, if you look at his build and you see all the Burning Abyss and you see the Phantom of Chaos, obviously you know that he has the Dark Fiends covered. You can throw Tour Guide in the mix of that too, but Fluffal Wings is actually a light. So worst comes to worst, guys, if you for some reason don't have access to Phantom of Chaos, which is how you're almost always going to activate this guy's effect, you can actually inherently special summon this card. Now, for what its effect is, it basically is Chaos Emperor Dragon. You pay 1,000 life points and you just blow up the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! All the cards on the field and in the hands go to the graveyard, and then the player who activated this effect draws 1 card. It's more or less kind of like a troll card, but it actually works in this deck because the thing is, this, I mean, if you make multiple Dantes, which if you look at all his Burning Abyss, you see Terratop, etc, you think, okay, definitely I can see this guy making a couple of Dantes. If he opens with Terratop, that's an instant Dante. If he's got a couple of Burning Abyss, that's an instant Dante as well. The thing is, if you blow up the field and you blow up everything with it, those Dantes are still going to trigger. So those Dantes will give you your Burning Abyss back to your hand and you'll draw a card. And then in addition to that, things like Skarm, they're still going to trigger during the end phase. So if you sent Skarm to the graveyard, you're still going to be able to get a Tour Guide for your next turn, and your opponent starts with fucking nothing. Like, they literally have 1 card in their draw phase against like your 4 cards and a Tour Guide. Like, what are you going to do against that? And Sky Scourge Norellis is a good way to get all these Fluffals to the graveyard. So if you have Toy Vendor and then you have like Wings and Bear in the graveyard, you can just blow those up. You can draw 2 more cards and get a Fluffal search. At that point, you're basically going to have like 3, 4, 5 cards, and they're going to have 1 card in. There's not really any deck that can play with 1 card. Maybe the one exception would be like ABC. If you sent like 1 piece of the A, B, or C to the graveyard and then they top deck like if they top deck Terraforming or they top deck like Hanger, then maybe they can get back in the game. But that's pretty much it. Every other deck is going to take like 2 or 3 turns to try and recover. Now, what's cool about the Fluffals in here is if you only have like 1 of them, you can pitch them to the graveyard with Monster Reincarnation to just get back any of the cards that you need if you happen to like mill Tour Guide, but you really want it in your hand. And another thing, most of these decks, like if your Phantom of Chaos gets hit with like a Solemn Strike or a Solemn Warning, they pretty much just die. Like, every Norellis build is like like that. If they lose their Phantom of Chaos, they basically just scoop, because you'll notice just like all the other builds of Sky Scourge and Norellis decks, like he doesn't run any traps. Even though there's 45 cards here, there are no traps in this deck. So he pretty much needs to get Norellis off by turn 2, but 99% of the time you want it turn 1. The cool thing about this is, since he has Monster Reincarnation and since he has Allure of Darkness, there are obvious ways that he can activate Phantom of Chaos's effect without using his normal summon, and that means that you start to have ways of playing around Solemn Strike, or if you Solemn Warning it or something like that, he can put it back in his hand from Monster Reincarnation, then he can allure it, and then he can make Leviair. So I'm saying that there are actually ways to work around just, having your normal summon be committed. Now, a couple of things that I did want to touch on before any of you guys maybe try experimenting with the deck or testing it out. Toy Vendor's second effect is not once per turn, and it doesn't matter how this card hits the graveyard. As long as you have Fluffals, you obviously will keep searching. If it's on the field and Norellis sends it to the graveyard, you'll search. If you pitch it from the hand with Monster Reincarnation, you'll search. Or, it can be sent straight from the deck with Dante and you'll still search as well. The second thing is, and this is very important, this deck has a tendency of getting extremely low on cards in the deck, and DZeeff even said that he decked out in one of his matches. One of the things that he did say would have won him one of his duels, and one thing that he said that he would actually do is he would take out an F-Zero for a Leviathan Dragon, and what that does is you still get obviously the ability to play F-Zero, but the Leviathan Dragon is able to go to that 2500 attack just like Dante, but without milling cards. So if you only have like 5 or 6 cards left in your deck, Dante isn't really all that useful then, because basically you can only activate its effect like one time, and you probably need to win that turn, where Leviathan Dragon still has that 2500 damage, but you don't actually have to worry about decking out. Well, not as quickly anyway. So I think that this deck is kind of cool, because it kind of does feel a little bit like a troll deck, but it feels like a competitive troll deck. Like, it still has a Heart of Burning Abyss, but it still has this crazy Norellis play that like blows out every deck in the meta, where most of these decks like can't really recover. Me personally, I thought it would have been kind of cool if maybe he could have like fit a BLS into this deck. I know that some of you guys are going to say, well, Cap, he only has the 3 Fluffal wings that are light, but yeah, but if you look at his extra deck where Dante, like all the Dantes are light, Beatrice is light, like Giga Brilliant is light, the Digital Bug, Corbage is light, the S0 is light, F0 is light. So, he does have a lot of light monsters coming out of his extra deck. So BLS would have been kind of cool to see in this deck, but overall, I think this deck is extremely good. He went 7-2 at the Garden City Regional, which I believe is in Michigan, and he ended up getting there late and getting a round 1 game loss. So really, he went 7-1, and I don't care what you guys say, 7-1 is damn impressive, especially when you're not even close to running the meta. And it was good enough to get him 20th place and his invite. So I think that's pretty good. Anytime you're able to get your invite, I think that you definitely have to walk away from the event feeling really good about your performance. So you guys let me know what you think of this deck and what you think of the series. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you guys enjoyed the video.